Welcome back, folks, to Pigs TV. Your host, Pigs, as usual. So we have something really different today. There's something I've been preparing for, I don't know, a long time. And obviously, I wanted to wait until I was sort of got the bits in ready. You can't see it here, but you could just see that there's a little plastic, there's a load of stuff there and a load of stuff on the other tables. I can't do nothing else until I clean it up later on once I've gone through this part. But what you've probably seen with the title. Now, I understand that some of the younger audience won't understand what an Amiga is. But it's all orientated to games. But the reason why I'm asking is I've been doing this project since I would say late 22, and I've got to the stage where I'm getting a little frustrated with one part of this design, and I've asked all sorts of people, emails, talked to them that, and people have said, "Oh, I'll help you," and then they just don't want to, or they just, "Oh, I haven't got time," or this, that, and the other. Now I know there's people in the world that will know maybe the answers to the questions that I need, or maybe have got an idea. But I want to go through everything and set the scene and show some stuff where situations I got, and I've got something again special at the end to show some other stuff. So, if I take you back to 2022, we know what was happening in the world. We still have COVID around, and we got a chance to go to a show that it's the only show that I go to a year. In fact, actually, the show's on today. But I didn't go for, people know my reasons because of money and things like that. And I wanted to rather spend that money on maybe a game to, bring it to YouTube instead of going to the show. But anyway, that's a different matter. So anyway, so when we went to the show, we hadn't seen each other for a long time because of the COVID situation. So we sat there talking, and I don't know if somebody mentioned it would be really nice to be able to design in 3D. Now I had not seen any 3D. I didn't even know nothing about it at the time. 3D printing for the keys for the Amiga, so you can see by the title. And it was a passing comment. We were all there together. Some of the people that have been there since it started, and these are quite knowledgeable people in that sort of area. And nobody had never tried it. As far as we concerned, nobody had never tried it in the group or groups of groups because they all know each other. So I was sat there, and back in late 22 in the UK, we had a really hot summer. I mean, it was really hot. I mean, it was around the put it this way, that it was about 36 degrees at 6:30 in the morning, and I was actually next door to here in my living room. I was actually painting. I was painting the skirt in my pants. I know that's not a vision you really want, but I was doing it. And then I had in this room here, I had a bed in here, and I had my main TV in here as well. So I didn't have a lot of room. And I thought, well, I can't do any computer stuff. I can't do anything that I normally do. What can I do? And then that got me thinking about this 3D printing. And some of the problems, I couldn't choose certain printers because they weren't big enough. So, you go all through these things because you'll see in a minute what some of the problems and some of the things and done. And like I said, so it was that. And once I'd finished, then I decided, because I thought, well, I know how to use Blender a bit, enough, to get myself into trouble that way. And I know, other things, but I don't know anything about 3D printing. But I thought the first thing is to design something in Blender that looks like the key. So what I got was I'll just show you. It was like a digital caliper. Also, we used the old faithful tape measure, it's still usable, and things like that. Where am I going to put this down? Oh, I'll put it down the floor. Sorry, I've got everything in around, like I said. So, so I decided to, take a key off and go from there. So let's go through the machines in a sense that I've got a couple of original machines. So, and then obviously I'll show you other things. But what I've got here is an original. Now, some obviously people know this is a 1200, so they did Commodore did different Amigas, and this is one of the later ones, and that's the 1200, like I said. We've also got here, just to show you some of the original. I haven't got all some of my own originals since I was 17 and 21. They're still packed away, and that's the 600. Not the most popular one, although the 500 plus would have been the least popular one out of a lot of them. It's still a bad machine. I mean, it's grown on me. I never really liked it, but you know. So that's an original. That one was actually that one there that you've just seen. It's actually been kept really well. The other one beforehand doesn't have the disk drive in. A lot of the machines these days, I mean, they are 35 years old, are not really being kept very well. They've been kept in lots, and they've got dust and rubbish and all sorts over all of them. But anyway, I digress. So, what my premise was to be able to design the keys. So, what I eventually came up with was the design, the first version, and I thought, oh, what am I going to do now? So I need to buy the 3D printer. So I decided on I won't say the brand, but some of you will probably guess what the brand is. And how, if you're not too sure how these work, sorry, I'm just grabbing on these things. I do apologise. Imagine everything's upside down. So this is a what they call a build plate. So this is how it gets printed. Now this is a little. So imagine this is sucked to this here, and that's how it goes upwards, and that's how it gets printed. It's like opposite. And also here again, I want to show you all sorts, because if you've never seen these things, you don't understand. So this is what they call a tank. So the resin itself. There's two different forms of way to print. I think it's a SLA and PLA. So I'm using a PLA, which is like liquid, like milk, if you like. And the other one's quite solid. It comes from a reel. And the only reason why I use this one over that one is because when it's printed, it's a lot smoother and things like that. You know, the detail, you can have more detail. So it goes in, the back goes in here, and then as that's printed up, and you have like a laser light, UV light that goes under there, and it scans on that, and it scans the image, and it pulls it up as in layer and layer. And that's how that works. Just to give you an idea, like I said, if you've not seen these things before, you would have no idea how it works, and that sort of thing. So it took me a long time to get used to it, and the amount of failures and frustration, it's probably this, I would say, of all the things I've ever done, all the programming, all this, and all the other things I've tackled, this has been the most hardest thing I've ever done. And the reason why is we're working things within a quarter of a millimetre. Now, I'm working with a digital caliper and things like that, which is incredibly difficult to do. You know, you're trying to get the exact measurements, you know, because the blueprints of these don't exist. So I've had to reverse engineer every single thing that you're going to see, like in a minute, to be able to do it. So let's go through some keyboards, if you like, just to get you. So you've seen the originals, and I have a few machines that I've actually put together. I'll show you the other ones first. I'm just taking my apologies for taking my time. I don't want to bust them in. These are eventually what I'm showing you. Eventually, going to be sold. Because I bought all these machines and restored them from bad, if you like, because and I wanted them for the keyboards to, you know, because the best way to show somebody what you can do or what has been done is to show somebody. So as you can see here, now this is a plus. This has never been the most popular machine, and you can obviously see a new thing on here, which is it's an OLED screen. So you don't have the drive in there. You have a USB. And the reason why is because after all these years, they tend to go. The disk drives, they're 3.5-inch disk drives. I should have brought a disk with me, actually. If I can find one while I'm walking through, I'll grab it. In fact, it's still they are still used in Japan apparently, but they are now finally phasing them out after all these years. But you can see the keyboard. So that's a 3D printed keyboard. But then the characters you see are the glyphs, if you like. They're not what you think they are, and I will go through that in a minute. So that's one of them. So that's a plus one. I get these sprayed. So I take a case, I go and get them sprayed, black or whatever, blue, red, green, or whatever colour you would want. And then obviously I print the things. But I go a bit further. If you look at the back, you'll see it's all black. And again, I'll grab something in a second. Reason why. It's this is and another reason. That's another reason why I haven't basically said this is all done. It's a bit of a perfectionist. I would rather have it right for people like yourselves or some other people. So anyway, so as you can see now, this is if you saw the little 600, this is actually its motherboard in there, and the only reason why this is. One of the lads at Amiga Spirit, if you want anything to do with the Amigas or anything like that, go to him. He's absolutely brilliant. And he recaps, all my ones are recapped, I think, apart from one that I'm going to show you eventually. So basically, these are the shields. This top shield is very unusual because people don't tend to keep it. They'll get the machine done and chuck it away, because I think it was Germany that wanted a shield, but in England and America and all the others really didn't really want one, so it's not really needed, but it's something that they wanted. So to keep the aesthetics, if you imagine the case, if you can imagine, like I said, this back, like I was saying, this back here, as you can see here, that's obviously fits in with the colour, because obviously that's it's chrome, you know what I mean? But because of the way I am, I didn't want that. Even though it's in the back, once you plug the cables in, you're never going to see it. But if your case is black and this is black, it all fits the aesthetic that I like. You know what I mean? Everything has to have its way. It's just, you've probably seen with some of the thumbnails and some of the other things, I have a way of doing these things. So anyway, that's, like I said, that's basically the Amiga, apart from the keyboard and a couple of other things. There's not a lot to it to show. For what you used to get all them years ago. But I'll just carry on and show you a few others. I have got a screenshot of them all together. No, I think I've just shown that one. My apologies. I put that one back onto the same place. Wasn't supposed to do that. Like I said, there's not a lot of room in here. Is there enough room to do what I need to do? But when I'm trying to do this, now this one I'm going to show you now was the original one that I did back in I think it would have been January, February of 23. So that's a bit of a unique one. Again, some of these you'll not see anywhere else in the world. They're only like this. Again, it's got its own screen, and this is in fact, actually, this is actually a friend of mine who's selling his, and this is actually his machine, but he wouldn't know what it was. I won't say who it is, but he'll know who he is if he does watch this. So again, if you look at the back, sorry, now you can see what I mean. If you see that it's not chrome, it's actually been sprayed. It's done exactly the same as these are. So that's obviously a black. You can mix and match the keys, which you can't do, obviously, on a normal one. Now, there is a company that does do, in a sense, there's only myself and another company that actually designs for them. Obviously, mine is 3D printed. Now, you just nosy there, so they look amazing. They do look amazing. The key I have is the space bar. Now, this is why, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to, ask people, and help. Now, this is a grey version of 500. This is actually close to one of the really early 500. I love the 500. I still think the 500 is the best computer that's ever been made. If I get my original out, because it has all this nostalgic with it, because my granddad lent me the money to get it, I'm just in tears. Every time I say it, it just wells me up. Anyway, better not start it. It'll get me going. But again, it's still got USB. In my machines, mine are a lot more, because I do something else as well, which I'll show you. There's a lot to this that's packed through around here. But I just wanted to show you what's possible, in a sense, with 3D printing. And I said, that sort of thing. So I'll quickly go through the others, a couple of others that I've got. And then you'll see what you personally like. There's a couple of others somewhere. So this is it's got pushed out because I've probably not got it screwed in, so I've got to hold it. But this is another black version of the 600. I think it looks really nice. Now, you've probably not noticed yet, but if you look at the logo, where am I? Sorry, logo here, this is actually designed by me as well. So actually the original label I designed as well, and I think it's on these as well. If you see, well, you can't. I'll have to come closer to turn it around. I don't want to drop it. Closer to the camera, but you can see the this one there. I know it's a bit fuzzy. My apologies, because I'm really close. But that there, I design as well. So you could have your, let's say, serial number in 3D printing and keep that when you, because obviously if you get this thing sprayed, you can't keep the label because it wouldn't be able to think. So, but I take that label and then I 3D print the label for you. So again, it's not something you're going to see, but it's about aesthetics. It's about, this is the problem that I have with a lot of things. There's a lot of blacks, I must admit. Oops, just bash that. Because black's always the popular colour, and but you can mix and match, like I said with the other. So this is a 500. It looks very similar to the Plus, but it's basically the 500 is like a version 1.1 to 1.3, let's say. I don't think you do 1.4. And then obviously the Plus is a 2.4, I think, in ROM. So it's more powerful machine, but it's not popular by no means, because it was basically an in-between. It was not very good. But anyway, yeah, so you've got that one. Again, I print the label as well, and that one has got one. So every machine that I've got is actually its original machine number. That when I bought the machine, whatever condition it is, you've probably seen the little silver thing, but these are an actual little plastic thing that goes on the top. I get these the only thing that I'm not an electrician or anything, I don't do that. All the electric part, like the screen and all, which I'll show you in a sec, is actually done by Amiga Spirit, which is a guy called Derek. Brilliant bloke. Really nice. He did my originals, and I was absolutely petrified the first time I took them, and he made me as calm as Larry. So anyway, I've got the last one to show for now. I did have another one, but Derek at me he wanted it. So I had, all right then, because I wasn't even ready to sell them. I have sold a couple, about 3, I think, over the time. But that's a red version of the thing. Again, you get the red label. It's a bit difficult because it shows through, so I'd have to probably have something on the back of that. And again, a red label. You can't really see it's red, but it does look red. Again, OLED screen with so you don't need the USB. You don't need the original disc USB there, and also I have a custom bracket which I'll show you in a minute. So that's some of the stuff on the actual machine side. Oh, well, actually, one more. Now, for the people that don't like black, I want something completely different. I showed you some of the gubbins. So this is the white version of the... I didn't really like this at the start, but actually it's been growing on me all these years. So this is the white version. I've got the white keyboard. I'll show you in a minute, and the reason why it's not in. And then you've got... So that's an original... I think that's an original No, it's not an original name. But what am I talking about? It's a white. It looks so original you couldn't tell. So that's a white label, resin label with the white. So again, to make it aesthetically pleasing. So here's the keyboard. I've got different. Most of the keyboards that you saw there were version 1s. And I wasn't too happy. As I've been learning more about 3D print and obviously with Blender, I've found better ways to uniform the keys a little bit better to what I want. Now I'll show you the keyboard here. Now you know there's a key missing, but I'll show you that in a minute. So that's the white version of the things. The only things that I'm not happy about is this spacebar. And this is where I'll go through, and this is why I need your help to get it on to the trending page and try and see if we can get this final through. Because it's there. All the keys are fine. It's always the spacebar. It's a problem. Now you see, this is the little caps lock with a little hole. Now obviously the other ones that are see-through and all that, you wouldn't see that. So what I have to do with this is I have to fill it in. I'll go through what I have to do to fill it in the moment. And when I say filling in, I mean filling in actually the characters, which is unusual. Nobody does it this way apart from me. Or has done it in that way, I should say. So what I do is I put some sellotape over the front, and then I get my resin, whatever colours. So if I want green or I want red or whatever I decide, or whatever the customer wants or whatever, it has to obviously be something that you'll see. Because the caps locks, when you push it down, it's got a light behind it, so you see it because that's what you would see in the original. And then I turn it over and I get a syringe and syringe it in, and then I get a manual UV light, because UV light hardens the resin to do it. The only problem with how I did that originally is I bought some, and I said to my mum, I said, "Oh, Mum, I've ordered some syringes," and she looked like paused and looked at me, said, "Why?" I said, "Oh, don't worry, I'm not objecting myself. I mean, it's to do with and I had to come and show her. Oh, that's all right," because she was a bit worried, you know. So like, I'm not into that sort of thing. But anyway, so then we've got another finished. So you'll see the caps lock there. You'll see the caps lock there if I put it in. That hasn't got a hole in it because this is clear. It's clear red. So when you press it down, it shines green. This isn't the 600 isn't always the worst one to sort out than others. It is to get it on, and it's real fiddly, and it's a real. But all of them are pretty easy, apart from the space bars and the two, and I've got other things that help you. You don't need. I mean, there's another thing. Originally, in these they had. Well, normally the white little brackets, people don't know that they've ever changed them or messed with them. And you can't buy them anymore. They don't sell them. So if you bust one of them, that's it. I designed that out. Mine do not need the original stuff at all. You could take your keys off and put these on, and then if you didn't like them eventually or you wanted to sell it, you sell them on the keys and somebody else doesn't want them. Whatever you decide. Or you just want to sit there and look at it. You can have it as whatever. But anyway, so that's the premise of doing it. Now, the problem, like I said, the most problem key I've had since throughout this design process and everything is the spacebar. The problem is the spacebar. It's either 7 inches long or 6 inches. 6 inches for the 600, what you just saw there, and 7 inches for the 1200, the 500 and 500 Plus. So they're big ones. And I've been trying all sorts to get it to keep straight. And this has been the problem. See, the problem is other people have said, "Oh, well, just put some more braces and brackets." You can. You can't really. It's really difficult to see. But that's the spring. I'm sort of trying to see so you can see it. Let me go a bit further in so that you can see. On the Amigas, basically, they're really cheaped out on the design compared to the Commodore 64. Now, I'm comparing it to Commodore 64 because you'll understand it later on. But there's the Commodore 64 spring. Now, can you compare that spring? I'll probably lose it, to this spring here. You can see the absolute difference in quality of that spring there it's twice as heavy, it's twice as thick, in other words, twice as powerful thing. So you don't get the problems. Yes, the 64 key is thicker. It's twice as thick, but it's not that much heavier on 3D printing. It's not even that much heavier on an original. So anyway, so that's been the issue. So I can't add too much more, because what happens is then the spacebar will sink because of the weight, and then it won't spring back. You can't double spring it, you can't do anything like that. So this has been the Achilles heel with it. So what sometimes it does, it tends to want to arc up to when it's been printed. Well, not when it's been printed, it's when I take it off. So I have to have something always to hold it there when I want to 3D print it. So a short while ago, I was able to talk to my old MD, in one of my jobs that I used to have years ago, about 10 years ago now. And met with his, bumped into his door in the supermarket, and I said, "Oh, how's your dad doing?" Because I love the dad, I absolutely respected him so much, and anything like that. So I said, "How's he doing?" "Oh, he's doing all right," and that, and he's got rid of his wife from that. They split up. I said, "Oh, that's good," because I hated it, absolutely hated it like a passion. And that's some of the reason, the situation. So anyway, so I went to see him, and I didn't know what he had. I didn't realize he had a CNC machine, and I said, "Look, would you, I've been desperately trying to get somebody to make something to help me to do this thing, and I can't get it, even paying, they just wouldn't do it because it's time and they just don't care." So he said, "Yeah." He said, "Bring your thing, bring your design, bring your idea, and let's see what we can do." So that was brilliant. So we originally came up with, I haven't got the original one, a flat design of this. Don't look at the key itself, but it was just flat. So he's double acrylic. He's put double acrylic on. We've got like a little ridge inside. Now, what the problem was it works. So the key, this is a C64 key. So this is an original C64 key. And don't look at the tie wraps because they weren't originally on. But what it is was I put the key in there, and then I cured it. So we have a curing station which is UV light, and that's how the resin cures. So it's quite heavy to start with, and you cure it, and then it gets lighter and that. But it can affect it. It can shrink and it can warp and that. All the other keys like these don't do it. You can see the angles that I've had to sort of how it goes, and like I said, on the thing itself. So anyway, so what I recently, about a week or so ago, I contacted them again and said, "Look, can we do some of this? I need some sort of tie." And what I had an idea was to put one over the top, have another one, and then bolt it down, and then cure it that way. But then he had an idea, said, "Well, why don't you have some sort of ties or something?" But I said, "Oh, that's okay." But the ties I got, I could only get, and the reason why I'll show you in a minute is this is a newer version. So this is the stand version of what you've seen there. It does have feet, but it fell off because I was doing the drilling, and the reason why I'll show you in a minute. So you can't really see the ridge, it's very difficult. But the key sits in there like I showed you, and the stands obviously, as you cure it, so it's in a box, and it turns, and it cures. So it gets the back and the front, but obviously it won't go through this, it won't go through here. So these have to be as thin as possible. And I didn't originally realise, because I was just going to get a full plate and bolt it all together, is it won't work because of 90% of the UV light won't pass through the acrylic. I only found out the day before, so I redesigned it to do that. And then he come up with this idea. This is the whole point. He said, if it doesn't work, come back and we'll do something else, that sort of thing. But the thing with these is I don't, we're all trying to save the planet and that sort of thing. These are push buttons. So these actually, you can get ties these days that are actually released. So you can push a little button here and this will release it. So what my idea is the same, is because these are tight, the actual key can't pull itself up. Because obviously if it bends, you can't see it. Well, you can actually hear. So this is the original little feet, if you like. Now, obviously, if this isn't really straight, when these are turned, if this bends itself down. If you can imagine, that's how it goes on the thing, and bends upwards. Sorry, bends upwards and upwards that way in an arc. These feet won't be straight, so they won't fully go through the keyboard right. If you've only got maybe a mil or so of play each side before they start touching, in other words, then it won't go back down and it'll get stuck. Which it can happen, has happened. Most of them key are perfectly fine because they've been sat there such a long time, they've got themselves into a nice thing and sorted themselves out. But I'd rather have it straight away like that. But anyway, so this is what I've come up with, or we've come up together. And all I've got to do is drill through these pilot holes here. So I have a few, and we'll sit that on, and as like I said, it turns. But there's got to be a better way. Now, like I said, I cannot increase the weight. In other words, I can't make more ridges. If I make more ridges, what also happens, I get at the front a little wobble, which I don't want. You can see the little wobble and you can feel the little wobble. Most people I've showed they say, well, it's fine, pigs, it's fine. It's just the way you are, you know what I mean? It's perfect. But I want something right. So, and that's what I bet. That's one of the reasons why I'm asking. Is somebody out there that knows these sort of things that could help, even like me. But I'd like to go back to the keys themselves, and I touched on it earlier on, but not in a big form. It's going to be difficult to really see, but I'll just grab the capsule because that's the one. But obviously, you can see the name in there. Now you're going to assume, like all keyboards, even the ones that are in front of me now and in front of your computer, or if you're watching on a laptop, unless you're watching on a big TV, then it won't be, but you know what I mean. All of them have a transfer on. Now, sometimes you can see the transfer and sometimes you can't. But I didn't want that. I've seen Amiga ones. Some people have done them and some of them are not very good. And I can see the you know what I mean? Or they've cut them on. It's a bit like, 2-year-old child stuck them on and it just doesn't look right. I don't want that. I've never wanted that. I want something that when somebody looks to say, I can't see how this has been done, or I can't even work out how this has been done. Now, I know this is difficult to see, and I did the key, but I'll have to... I don't think you can actually see it. Maybe you could just make it out. But all my keys, every single key on the keyboard, so every single key on these, apart from obviously spacebar, apart from ones that don't need them, but that one's probably and the blank ones, have what I call, it's built into the key itself. Now, it's not how you think, so it's not another 3D resin. What it is it's basically, as it's printing, I print the glyph in there. And now we go, oh, right, yeah, but I can't see it. No, you can't. So then I take, after a while, I found some, for better word, filler, or whatever you want to call it, that allows me to put that into the key itself, into here, into the face, so you can see the character. I have to do that on every single key. So there's 102, I think, on one of them, and there's 90. So every one I have to do. Originally, in the original one that you saw, which was the grey and the black one, that took me about 5 hours to do because it was the first one I'd ever done. But you need to do it about 3 times because obviously it hardens, it shrinks and goes in there. It's only about 1 mil, so mine will never wear out because it's in the key itself. It's work for yourself to do, but it's just the way I've done it because I didn't want it like that. I just didn't want it like that. So it's something I come out because obviously, how would you put them on? How are you going to stick? And if they're not right and not straight, they look all awful. Because obviously all the ones on your own keyboards are all done in industrial, so they look right. You can't replicate that on an easy scale. But that, I can print them and fill them in. Yes, it's time. It probably takes the 3 fills about an hour now, maybe less. It's nice. You have your music on and you start singing yourself, so like ABBA and all sorts. And I'm singing to myself and that's it. You know what I mean? And it doesn't take that long. But that's that sort of part. But we've got some other stuff that I'd like to show you, just to get you, in the idea. Now, you don't see much inside, but what I was saying was I did a 3D print of a bracket. Now, my brackets, again, are different. I do not all my brackets and everything are all bolted onto the machine itself. So I have bolts here. They're all next door. My apologies for that. I think this is this might be a 1200 one. But you can see the little designs and things like that. But mine, you've got this little ridge. This is probably the wrong one I've picked up. But there's a little. If you wouldn't really notice. Let me grab. You can just barely make it out. Here, if you see the little. Normally you'll have like there. You'll have the disk drive, like I said, a 3.5 and it sticks out. There's a little thing that sticks out. You can see it on the internet if you're not too sure. But I didn't want that. Everybody's designed, and everybody's done it. They've done theirs as one piece. But if this bracket that they've designed doesn't line up with the machine properly, that thing won't line up with the front edge. So it's like you get a gap or this or that or the other. I didn't want that. No, I'm not having that. Again, designer and thing and think of ideas. Mine, I actually printed separately. So you get like the bracket like this. I think this is an early version. I don't know why I've got this, but it's it's a bracket nonetheless. And it fits a USB. I haven't got one here. I wish I did, and I could show you the machine itself. But you can see the little holes and the little other things that it fits on. And it's very difficult to see, but you can see the little lip here, and the bolt fits in there, and it comes underneath, and you bolt it in. So everything's all rigid. It's not like some of what they've done before is original one I got myself is it didn't put any holes in it or what like that. And I got blisters on my hands trying to do it. And I ain't having that for any customer of me, or I'm not having that for myself. So like I said, I have a little, what you saw in the little floppy drive button. It actually bolts on. You can adjust it back and forth to get it where it needs to be. So aesthetically pleasing, it's right nice and flush with the front, which is what you want to do. So that's that. We've also, so what I'll show you here as well is you can't really see it from there. But I don't, like I said, this is an early version of my screen that I've got. But what we've got here is what's that? Like an early version of my screen, but that's like the LCD. So this is an OLED screen, and the hole is for, this is probably the better one actually to show you. I should have got the right one, my apologies. I put all these in plastic to protect them, and then I should have got them out. So now you've got the OLED. So this is an OLED screen. These come from Amiga Spirit, and Derek puts all these together. So he puts the cable ins. I don't have any cables in the back of there because I have a slightly different. I want a longer cabling system, but he'll put some on there for me, and then I'll know the colours and everything because I don't know the order. Otherwise, I get everything mixed up, and it doesn't work, and then I have to ask him. So I've got this wrong. Help me out. Yeah. So this is a little OLED. It's actually a little OLED. So if you've got an OLED TV, I know it's amazing what you can get these days. But yeah. So the screen that you saw on, if I go back to this again, this is a version 1. So you can't really see it here, but inside I printed little brackets and things like that to hold it down. But it wasn't how I want it, because obviously these things move as you're picking them up and sitting around. They move, and that. So this is my newer version of the screen. The original one came from Derek from Amiga Spirit as well, and he said, I'll give you my version. I'll send you it over, and you can use that as a blueprint to do whatever you want. I said, well, if I'm going to do that, I will send you back my design, whether you can use it or not, because obviously he's used the old LSA, which is, like I said, for a better word, it always reminds me, if you've ever done any cake. If you've done your cakes, like the little cake bag, and you do that, it's like that, and that's how it comes out on the reel, when obviously it's different. So you can't get the thing. But if you can compare this version, I'll just grab this again. It's difficult to see the size, but if you compare that, it's a lot wider. And it's a lot wider to give it a bit more support, and it's for the cables and everything, because there's quite a few cables and that go through there, and there wasn't really a lot. So you can't really see, but I print it in 40 feet. So that actually goes on in between the things itself. Now, I did originally the other day think of, because I can get them the reusable tie wraps, I might do one where it does a bar through here, and as that sits on, you can then get the tie wrap round and tie wrap it, so it keeps it nice and sturdy. That's what a problem is, it's keeping it steady. Because obviously, it's also for these, and now I know Derek said when he does his, he puts glue in, which is what I originally didn't want to do, but it might be the way to do it. It's the only reason is if the screen goes, and you after that, you're more likely going to bust these. And I didn't want to do it. I mean, it's electronics. It could not, whatever. You could keep this, put a new one of them in, and you wouldn't be having to pay for one of these, because these are quite expensive to print, because there's a lot of resin there. That probably takes about 6 hours or so to print. It's quite a long time to print, So anyway, so that's that particular thing. What else am I wanting to go through? I'm looking at the time, so apologies for the time, but it's been important to get through everything. Now, like I said, is the problem I have, it doesn't seem to, you can't really tell, but it's what it does, it tends to get caught on down here. You can't really see it. It looks pretty straight, but it's not fully straight. If I push this down, you can probably see the gap. It's because it's bored, and that's what I'm trying to stop with all that stuff. Now, as I was designing this, I got asked, so this is in a sense the bonus part, or whatever you want to say. I got asked about a Commodore 64 keyboard. And that was, I think it was actually from Derek himself, actually. He said, could you think you could design that? I said, well, I'm really trying to do the Amigas, but I'll have a look at it. And so I've got something else to show you. Now, again, this is in design. It's not fully finished, and I have the same problem, because that's like I said, that's the C64 thing. But if I can solve one problem, I can solve them all, if you get what I mean. Now, this is an original it looks a bit dirty in that, but it's out of, I think this is C64C, but they are relatively the same. I think inside it's slightly smaller, but the same principle. And obviously, you can hear the quality of that key compared to the Amigas, if you ever have one. It's like chalk and cheese, you know what I mean? And that. So what I was designing, I'll show you. Now, it looks a bit weird because of different colours, but it's what I was printing at the time. So now you've got the C64 version, 3D printing, and there. The principle's the same. I have to do exactly the same. In other words, I print it, again, with the transfer or whatever not there. In other words, it's embedded into the key, about 1 millimeters, like I said, and I have to fill these. So I fill these up by hand. But obviously, you can have every colour you want. I've got a red there. Looks a bit weird with a green, but it works. But you can probably now, because I've got this on, you'll probably see what I mean. You see, it gets caught because it can't get through because it's not straight, and then you obviously have to do. Sometimes, some days it'll go up and down, and some days it won't. So it's very minutely close. Now, I spent about a year or so trying to get all this done, and this is the problem. This is the request I've got from people like yourself. We can get it on a trending page. Other people might be able to see it and help me out to get this to the final stage. I mean, I've spent all this time, and I've spent thousands of pounds on machines, and I'm not even worried about that. I've learnt a lot. But obviously, like I said, all these machines that you've seen today will be sold, and if you're interested in one eventually because you know what's, into it, by all means, let me know. Better if you're in the UK, but, but like I said, it gets caught on here. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I don't need 14 machines. I'll keep my originals, and I might keep one of the other ones, but to take to a show, for an example. But I don't need all them. I'd rather be to somebody else that appreciates them, etc., etc. I only bought it. That's why I bought the machines. I bought the machines to make sure they were okay, recap them, so they're all recapped as well. Apart from the big grey one, 500, that needs to go to Derek and get recapped eventually. and redone and checked and everything was fine. So and he changed what he needs to change, recapped. So they're all being recapped, and that. So they're all good to go. They all work. And the good thing about it's something you probably don't know and are you unsure of. The good thing about using the screen and that, it's not really picked up as much. But if you use the little ones, you have to have use this other software on there and everything like that. That one you don't. Also, I've done a few Amiga stuff as well to help out. It's PC to Amiga, so if you've got the games, it'll do some folders and things like that for you. If you're interested and want to know where the link and things like that is, I'll probably put it in the description. It's not on a pigs.com, it's on another website that I have. But you can have a look at it and you can download it. I think actually one of the lads actually uses it for the Sega stuff as well. And he uses his directory structure for that, and he puts his Sega stuff in because it just looks. He doesn't use the other part to it because what it can do is it can look at the games on your PC and create folders on the USB of that. So in other words, you don't go and need to go A to Z and have you go. Well, there's nothing in there. There's nothing in there. It'll only copy over what has stuff in there. But I digress again, and then I put that in the description if people are interested. But yeah, so you've got the C64 keyboards are almost finished, and the problem with this space bar is that they're same throughout them all. The 600 is a different space bar. In other words, it's internal underneath basically the cheaped out, and I'm really cheaped out. They did it different, and that was a huge pain to design because 3D printing is good in a lot of stuff. It doesn't have the durability of what plastic does, and obviously, if you probably don't even know, but if you took, if you went to get a mold of these keys or the original ones, plastic mold, what they call, because it's on a machine and it gets pushed in and the plastic gets molded in. You're talking between 40,000 quid and 100,000. Now, if you take Lego for example, that was a real. Yeah, they spend about 250,000 quid in getting their molds done for it might be a set. So you can see how expensive it is. That's why you don't see these done anymore. Another company does it a different way, but it's not injection molded. That's what I was saying. They do it a different way, different. They're not 3D printed, but they're not, shall we say, the best. But I can understand why, because injection molded is going to be the best. And even mine, you're all right, like using them and they're all thingy. But if you were a microscope and you would see lines. Now I can lower the print, but to like 0.10 microns. But if you say that takes a key itself, if you take one key, although you've got more keys on the print on the bed that I showed you, that would take maybe 2.5 hours. But if you add to that and make it smaller, so the lines are smaller, you may be talking 6 hours of print. Now, obviously, if you're printing a lot of these, that's a hell of a lot of time. Now, I, at the moment, have one printer. I have some more there, but I'm just not enabled to. I may even show video on it. I'd have to do it on my phone of my setup if people are interested. It's actually in the loft. It's in my loft. And being an ex-joiner, I took out all the floorboards of that. I had some other stuff in there, and I reboarded it proper flooring, not like the cheap MDF flooring, the proper flooring. Because when you're printing it, you need something that's straight. And if you're walking around, especially you're upstairs and it's bowing, well, that could affect the printing. You don't want to affect that. So I spent all that money doing that. This was back in late 23. Unfortunately, I was doing it as I was got made redundant. But anyway, we digress with that. But yeah, so I hope that is. Like I said, I know it's not gaming, but it's in gaming in an indirect way. And if you saw the Miscellaneous with the Amiga stuff, with the little emulator stuff that I had, I'd like to do the big ones, but they just take up so much room. You can see the size of them. We are going to do some games eventually, and I've got a Spectrum one there. It's just getting everything set up. I've got the thing there. You can't see it. I can't even see it because it's covered over with a big sheet and things like that, with a big TV and everything else that I've got there to do it. And I've sort of set most of it up. It's just trying to do everything else at the same time. And I want to do something else. And I'm doing something else for the viewers and the subscribers at the moment. There's two things I'm doing. I don't want to go through that. But anyway, get back on. I'm a bugger for getting off topic. I do apologise. But Yeah, so what I'm trying to do is if you do me the honour, and I don't normally, like I said, drop me ass, is let's see if we can get this on a trending page and see if we can view it and see if there's somebody out there that can help get this over the final stage. Because I just want that straight. Now, I'm trying this might work and may not, but if it doesn't, obviously, and other people can help there, that'd be great. So, thank you very much for your time. I know it's been nearly 50 minutes, but I hope it hasn't been boring. And, everybody take care of yourself. We'll back to the daily stuff tomorrow and then on. But if you want to contact me and say hello and hopefully put something in the comments, that'd be great because I have replied to everyone and see what we can do with this. Take care. Bye for now.